5 ways Marvel can introduce mutants into the MCU. Marvel has many ways to introduce the long-awaited mutants into its shared universe, but how would it happen, and which is much likely to be? March 20th, 2019, a day that will live in the infamy for Marvel fans. This date saw the official end of the Disney-Fox merger, thus ushering in a pantheon of Marvel's most beloved characters and villains such as the X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Doctor Doom, to name but a few. The burning question since that time for both Kevin Feige and Disney is how mutants will introduce themselves to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is no small order, and each possibility has its own implications and difficulties to immersing a literal encyclopedia of characters into an MCU that has spanned over a decade and has already established a multitude of beloved characters such as the Avengers. Below are the most plausible scenarios that we can expect to see from Marvel and Kevin Feige, so let us get into the video. Number 1 is the Scarlet Witch. Yes, it has been widely discussed that Marvel's current WandaVision series is being loosely adapted from the House of M storyline, an 8-issue run in 2005 wherein Wanda Maximoff ends up most mutants by simply uttering the words "no more mutants." In the aftermath of the storyline, Cerebro estimated that 91.4% of all mutants were eliminated at the time. That's a number in the millions. However, since no mutants technically exist in the current 616 timeline, Wanda cannot simply eliminate mutants. But since the House of M adaptation is only partial, Marvel could use Wanda's reality warping ability to do the opposite, which is to create mutants. We have already seen hints that whatever Wanda creates within her sitcom world also continues to exist outside the Westview anomaly, so this is not outside the scope of our powers or possibility. This would be a quick and easy way for Marvel to create mutants and bring them into the MCU. Second, mutants already exist in the MCU. Within the universe it was creating, Kevin Feige gave us a hint that mutants existed as far back as 2008 Iron Man movie. If you can find the old rated scene of the original Iron Man movie, then you will see that part. But the clip shows us that mutants existed within the Marvel continuity at that time. Although in assorted numbers, which is to say not many, it is also clear that the only barrier to the reveal was a business one, in that legal issues prevented Disney from using mutants because Fox had ownership rights over that world and the characters themselves. Despite this, it appeared as though Kevin Feige was interested in promoting the idea that the X gene existed and had begun to reach a dominant state within the population of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Additionally, except from the Wakanda Files gives us another peek into the possibility that the dormant X gene currently exists and that both Wanda and Pietro Maximoff are mutants themselves. This In-Use Universe book was written by Shuri of Wakanda while researching Hydra, and in it she notes that Hydra found genetic oddities among the inhabitants of Sokovia, which made them ideal candidates for their Mind Stone experiment. In this note, it was further explained that their exposure to the energy of the Mind Stone unlocked their latent powers. Further, there is a separate passage that mentions that the twins' abhorrence for Tony Stark also played a figural role in the development of their powers that the other Sokovians did not exhibit. This is interesting because we know from comic book lore that anger, rage, or some form of emotional trauma often unlocked and triggered the mutant genes within the individuals. Number 3. Mutants will be introduced to the MCU via the multiverse storylines. Yes, if these options are possible and mutants already existed, one question that fans have been asking for years is where have they been? Why didn't they help in the Battle of New York or during Endgame? There may be indeed logical explanation for this, but let us just take this as they are and admit these are questions that Marvel is now needing to answer. Enter the multiverse. As WandaVision kicks off phase 4, it became quite clear that Marvel is heading in some bold directions. Events will transpire in this series that will have significant implications in several properties, and all will impact Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange, The Multiverse of Madness, and even Loki series, and all have multiverse implications as well. The idea of bringing mutants through a rupture in the multiverse will be quite simple and could also explain the glaring absence of mutants as well as give us another clean beginning to mutant kind. After all, it is clear from production information on the set of the Spider-Man 3 Corp that multiple villains will be joining the 616 timeline from alternate timelines. If even for a short time. Having various X-Men characters as swording mutants or other superpower beings spill over into a continuity or be available in other continuities would solve a lot of problems and would also provide some intriguing possibilities for future projects. Number 4. Thanos snaps introduces mutants to the MCU. At the beginning of Avengers Endgame, when speaking to the group, Rocket said when Thanos snapped his fingers, Earth became a ground zone for a power surge of ridiculously cosmic proportions. If you build on the prior theory that the mutant X gene already exists in its dormant state, then the power unleashed by Thanos multiplied significantly from the Wanda and Pietro experience via the Mind Stone would likely trigger a similar, even larger effect on anyone exhibiting the same genetic disposition. To reiterate, Wanda and Pietro shared a genetic anomaly that likely exists in others, although perhaps not to the measurable density as seen in Sokovia. Nonetheless, their powers were unlocked by exposure to the Mind Stone. Thanos' snap was performed on Earth, but with the power of all 6 of the Infinity Stones, and let us not even forget the Earth has been ground zero for no less than 3 snaps in the whole movie. The idea that the energy released from the power of the Infinity Stones for the evolution of the X gene is not far-fetched. Number 5. A hybrid theory brings mutants to the MCU. Now let us use a little bit of logic and quickly parse out these theories to determine which is the most probable theory of how Marvel will bring mutants into the MCU. As with many things in life, the truth is usually somewhere in the middle of conflicting theories, and I think this holds true to here. Basically, mutants already exist in the MCU, although they are not likely so prolific. What Nick Fury said at the end of Iron Man is true. The dormant X gene has likely begun to emerge in random individuals over many years, and they become exposed to a variety of stimuli. More so, Thanos' snap likely exacerbated the mutation and evolution of the X gene, like how Wanda and Pietro powers were also triggered by the Mind Stone, and due to their own exposure to the cosmic energy of the stone that the stone gives off. The multiverse or House of M theories do not work for a simple reason. They are far too simplistic. Kevin Feige has never shown any inclination that they would treat something so complex and so important to the future of the MCU with anything so basic, an idea, and so full of plot holes and absurdities. This way out would belly all the hints and Easter eggs we have had so far through over a decade of storytelling. To put another way, it would cheapen the Marvel brand in my own opinion. Everything we have seen up to now has shown us that Marvel does not take the quick and easy way out in making or introducing new characters into the show. So no doubt Marvel has an answer to this problem and have already begun to implement them. So one thing is for sure, we will see mutants in the MCU one way or the other, or pretty much very soon. So if you really enjoyed this video, which is actually the end of the video right now, please drop a like. Or if you genuinely like mutants, then just like the video. But if you love everything superheroes, then click the subscription button because you're gonna be getting everything superhero topic related in this video. And I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, peace.
Korg, who was not my first choice, but apparently everyone else was too busy over on Disney+. Say hello, Korg.
Hello, I'm made of rocks. Thank you for having me, Paul. Sorry you're dead.
Jesus Christ. Let's take